Hey everyone, this is Stella FD with Closer, and in this video we're going to talk about how to effectively review sales calls. All right, so you're a sales manager. One of your jobs is to listen to, doesn't matter if it's a cold call, doesn't matter if it's a qualifying call, a demo call, whatever it is. One of your sales team members, makes calls to prospects with the intention to close the deal and to acquire new customers for the business. And one of your jobs and one of your responsibilities is to listen to these calls and review them, right? Maybe review all of them, maybe some of them, maybe just one. How do you do that job and do that well? Most sales managers, when they review a call, they just listen to the call, and they will just, very emotionally react to what's happening in the call without being really strategic. They might be, writing emails while passively listening, and then at the end ask themselves, "Was this a good call? Was this a bad call? Can I criticize something?" They will, maybe get really upset about something that didn't work at the beginning and get all emotional and start, yelling at the sales rep even before they listen to the entire call. So I want you to use a very simple system in order to follow along, and we're going to have a template you can download so you can use that template and then structure any time and every time you review a sales call in a way that will allow you to get the most information, data out of every call that you review, to follow a very specific structure. So it's very simple, it's very consistent, and for you to be able to be the most useful and helpful to that individual sales rep as well as to your entire sales team. What is the first step? First step is you have to ask yourself, what is the goal of this call? What's the ultimate goal that the sales rep is trying to accomplish in this call? And at the end of the call, you need to ask yourself, was this goal accomplished, yes or no? It's a very simple thing. Maybe there were 100 mistakes made. Maybe there's 1,000 things you didn't like that much. But if there was a specific goal and it was accomplished at the end of the call, it was a successful call. It might be able to be a better call in the future, but it was a success. If there was a goal, even if the sales rep was the most charming, most creative, most charismatic, most funny person on earth, maybe if you loved every single minute of that sales call, if at the end of the call, the goal, the whole reason of this call's existence wasn't accomplished, it was a failed call. That's the number one thing you need to keep in mind, you need to track, and you need to answer in your review. As you listen to this, obviously I would advise you to listen to it with your full attention and to try to analyze not just the sales rep, but to really pay attention to how the prospect responds, how the prospect answers, their tonality, their energy. Is it going up? Is it going down? Do they seem disinterested and disengaged, or really engaged and really passionate? Are they leaning in or out? Do they seem like they feel understood or not? What is their reaction? You need to listen to the entire interaction between prospect and salesperson, not just what the salesperson does. You want to judge the salesperson on a first level of criteria, which is the basics. Excuse me. The basics or fundamentals are simple. Did the salesperson, how well did the salesperson do in the basic pitch? Maybe you have a sales script. If you don't, you should. How well did they follow the structure of the sales script? How well did they follow, the beginning of the cold call, the middle, the end? How competently did they follow the structure of this type of sales call? How truthful were they? Did they keep the facts? Did they make promises that are not true? Did they say things that are wrong? Did they hide from things that they thought would be inconvenient? A lot of sales reps will lie and will shift around with the truth. So you want to make sure that everything they say is truthful. Everything they say is a fact. They don't state any numbers that are unrealistic. Unrealistic is a big thing. How many things do they promise the prospect that are maybe not quite so? So you need to pay attention to that, and you need to pay attention to the competence level, right? Were they in control of the script? Did they follow it? Did they seem in control of the call overall? And then how did they manage certain situations that we've practiced before? Objection management can be a big thing. Closing a negotiation. There's certain things that you are training your sales reps on a daily basis that they should be fairly competent in, so you can judge them on that competence. That's the foundations. Those are the basics. On top of those, you want to look at some intangibles, right? Some things that maybe you don't practice every day, but you still look for if you want to achieve greatness and excellence in sales. So you want to look at the energy. Was the sales rep's energy really high or was it really low? Did it seem depressed? Right? Did he depress the prospect or did he energize the prospect? Was the salesperson influencing the prospect's energy or out the other way around? So the salesperson was really energetic at the beginning of the call, but because the prospect was really depressed, by the end of the call, the salesperson's energy was really depressed. Or was it the other way around? The prospect was really energetic and the salesperson was depressed and he brought the prospect down. Ideally, obviously, you want a salesperson that will influence the prospect in a positive way, especially when it comes to energy, be in control of that energy and not get influenced by others by it. So did he have high energy? Was there enthusiasm in the call? Could you hear the sales rep smiling, right? Could you hear that he or she was having a good time? Or did it sound like a chore? Did it sound like something that was unpleasant? Did it sound like it was a painful task they needed to get through versus an opportunity for them to change the world, to make the prospect's life better, to really make something happen, and they were excited and grateful for it? What was the rapport level, right? Did it seem like the prospect and the salesperson were able to connect on a level that made both of them like each other? Because what is like each other will attract each other. There's some saying like that. I butchered it, but at the end of the day, we like to buy from people that we like, and we want to stay away from people that we don't like. So there's something to be said to pay attention to. Is in this specific call, was the sales rep able to build some kind of a rapport with the prospect, connect with them in some way? And then what were the salesperson's listening skills? Did the salesperson, talk more than they asked questions? Did they, interrupt the prospect as the prospect was explaining something just to add their own thoughts to it? When the prospect was giving them information that seemed incomplete, that the salesperson acknowledge and realize that and dig deeper? Or was the salesperson just waiting to get to the next point? What was the level of listening skills on that call? That's kind of the next layer that you want to look at. And then we get to some advanced stuff, right? So the basics everybody needs to get right. Like they shouldn't be lying, they should be truthful, they shouldn't be exaggerating, they should be competent in the sales script and the basic structure of what you would expect them to be able to say on a phone call, on a sales call like that. Those are the basics. Then on top of that, you want them to have high energy, you want them to be likable and give a good effort to build rapport with the prospect, and you want them to be good listeners, right? That's kind of the beginner stuff. Then it's kind of intermediary, and now we'll get to the advanced stuff. The advanced stuff you're looking for are, what are the capabilities? What were the capabilities of the salesperson when it came to proposing solutions? So, I assume a big part of the sales call was trying to understand what the situation is and what the problem is, and then proposing a solution, a call to action, a game plan. All right, now that we understand all this, here's the next step that we should take to move this forward. Here's the next step we should take to solve this problem for you. How well was the strategy that the salesperson proposed? How well outlined was the plan that the salesperson created in that call with the prospect to move the deal forward, right? How good of a consultant were they to the prospect? That's one thing you want to look at and review. The next thing is red flag sensitivity. What I mean by that is, usually in almost every call, there's going to be some moments where the prospect is generating what I would call a red flag, right? They might hesitate. They might point to something that will be critical or difficult. A lot of times salespeople will want to, go away from problems and red flags instead of steer towards them. I like to steer towards them. If you tell me, well, my boss has to agree to that, and I don't know, he's like not sure what he will think of this. Many salespeople will just go, well, I hope that we can get your sales boss to agree. Well, you'll like it. Well, what else would you want to know out of this demo call, right? They'll just they glance over it and they'll go, oh, this is unpleasant. Let's not talk about that. Well, that's not what you want to do, right? You want to zoom in on red flags so you can manage, control red flags, and deal with them, right? So you want to go, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm so glad you bring this up. This is so honest and transparent. Let's talk about your boss. When was the last time he signed off on something? When was the last time he blocked something? What do you think you need to convince your boss? How can I be a resource to you to overcome that challenge, right? Let's zoom in on the boss issue versus zoom out of it. So Does the salesperson, approach conflict head first, or do they run away from it when they sense red flags or hesitations? Do they address it, or do they try to dress it up, right? And pretend it doesn't exist. And then last but not least, what's the creativity level on this call, right? Is the salesperson coming, does the salesperson use any kind of creativity on the call? Did they come up with, a joke that you haven't heard before that worked? Did they come up with a story you haven't heard before that really worked? Did they come up with a solution that you've never heard before that was brilliant? Did they come up with a way to manage an objection you've never heard before? Did they do something creative that's valuable and useful? Right? That's obviously advanced stuff, like how good of a consultant they are, how good they manage conflict, and how well they respond to red flags, and what their creativity level is. This is really advanced stuff. And on top of it, the highest most part of that is their time management abilities, right? Did this call, so this call accomplished a certain amount of things in a given time. Was that time well managed? Right? This was maybe a good call, but it took 2 hours, and you think that you could have accomplished the same amount of stuff in 30 minutes. Or maybe it was a good call in 30 minutes, but you think it could really have been a 10-minute call. Like there were just 2 action items and then a lot of bullshit and wasted time on the call. How well did the salesperson respect their own time as well as the prospect person's time? And how high was the accomplishment per minute? How valuable was every and each minute of that phone call? It's another thing that you can look into. Again, this is really advanced stuff, but things you want to review and things you want to give feedback on and help salespeople to get better at. Looking at all of this, when it comes to coaching, you might want to look at the thing you like the most in this phone call, the best quality of the call, as well as the thing you like the least, the worst. And then as a sales manager, you need to focus on, like, what's the one thing we want to improve? Too many times, and I have been I've made this mistake a million times. This is very much in my nature. When I would listen and review sales calls, I would give feedback to salespeople, and I would overwhelm them with the million things I noticed that weren't perfect. And overwhelming them with 40 different things they should do better is not doing anything. It just demoralizes them. It takes their energy and passion away, but it also gives them no clear path to improvement. How are they going to fix 40 different things all at once? So as a sales manager, you need to have the discipline to zero in on one thing that's the most important thing that you think they can improve, and if they do, will really have the biggest return for their career and for the results they're driving. And then you focus on that. You have them focus on that, and you zero in on that. You give them that feedback, and you tell them to improve on that thing. You might review every little detail of the call for your own data. As you're managing this salesperson career over the long term, you want to see how they're improving and developing these areas. But when it comes to the thing you want the salesperson to work at and become better at, you want to make sure that you focus on one thing at a time. And then, last but not least, you want to turn it around. When you review a sales call, yes, it's about the prospect, it's about the salesperson, but it's also about you as a sales manager and your overall sales team and sales organization. Was there a learning here in this call that could help others in your team? Was there a learning here for you as a sales manager? Something you taught and this person did really, really wrong, so maybe you taught it the wrong way, or maybe you didn't teach it or coach people as effectively as you thought because you've seen the same mistake in multiple call reviews with multiple people in your team. What are learnings that you can get out of this call that go beyond the sales rep? Things you can learn, things that other salespeople can learn, maybe even things that the entire business can learn out of this call. Always go one step further when you review a call and look beyond the obvious and ask yourself, what else is here to learn for us? What opportunities for growth and learning do we have after this call and from this call? All right, so that's it. If you do all that, obviously this takes a bit more energy and intensity than if you just, if you're just writing emails while passively listening to a call. But the results and the value you're creating out of sales reviews will go through the roof, and it's going to be a tool that's not just a to-do you need to get through, but it's going to be one of the major ways you're going to allow your sales team to get to the next level and to crush it. And for you as a sales manager to get better and better at your job every single day. All right, let me know in the comment section if you have some call review tactics, call review experiences worth sharing to elevate all our game when it comes to sales reviews and sales coaching and sales management. Make sure to go to blog.close.io if you haven't already and subscribe to our blog multiple times a week. Highly tactical and strategic sales advice for you. If you ever want to get in touch with me, shoot me an email, stelly@close.io. Now let's go out there and crush it.